All right, now let's continue with our focus on South Africa's decaying rail network. A number of passenger train stations have been vandalized or destroyed in Soweto. Billions of rands have been spent to beef up security and restore lines. Heidi Giokos is at the Naledi train station to assess the situation. Good morning, Heidi. How is the situation looking like there in Naledi?
It's very empty, Mfundo, and for some reason I had thought that this train station was already up and running, but we are expecting it to start its operations in a few weeks or so. We'll get clarity from PRAS in a short while, but I must just highlight the fact that there has been serious vandalism and theft at a number of PRAS train stations, especially here in Soweto. This was, of course, exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic when the services were not operating, and these criminals, of course, took opportunity to move in and literally take whatever they could get their hands on, which, of course, is a huge concern and causes a massive inconvenience for those that really rely on the train services. We've covered this story time and time again, where you have people saying that they are so desperate for the train service to be operating, and also many say that you always hear the train in Soweto, and that hasn't really been the case for some time because it hasn't been operating. But I want us to get perspective about what the plan is going forward and some of the challenges faced. We are joined by Andiswa Makanda, who's the PRAS spokesperson. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. I want us to start off with some of the challenges that are faced when it comes to getting the trains up and running again. I know a lot of work is being done to restore all of this. There's been a lot of vandalism and theft, but maybe take us behind the scenes as to what's actually happening behind the scenes and how difficult it's been to get everything up and running again.
Good morning, Heidi. Thank you for this opportunity. I think like any other project, we do experience challenges. And I think one of the biggest challenges we've experienced is issues of supply, where, you know, we are getting a lot of our raw material from overseas. And so when we have strikes or if it's lockdown and we can't get the raw material into our shores, it becomes a problem. Then we've had issues of strikes within this industry, which has also been a challenge, where work had to be delayed. In particular for the Naledi line, for example, we had this the Transnet strike, where we couldn't import a lot of the raw material that we needed. The biggest challenge right now, and we're ready to run the service, it's just that there have been so many rains recently that are affecting our ability to test the newly replaced electrical cables. But we're doing all that we can to make sure that we meet our deadline and we recover the service by end of November.
Okay, so this service could possibly be up and running by the end of November?
It could be up and running by end of November, bearing in mind that there are so many rains and we're losing about a week of testing. What we're doing now is that we are testing the newly replaced overhead cables that we have replaced that was stolen. We are testing also the substations that power these lines. But because of the rains, it has been difficult, and we are not allowed from a safety perspective to work with anything electrical, because a lot of the work here is electrical, and the rains have been a huge impediment with the testing of these lines.
Sure, certainly. It's so lovely to see that train moving, though. I must say the hooter is a bit scary. But anyway, let's move on to the importance of getting the train service up and running, especially here in Soweto. You have many depending on the service. Many have really been inconvenienced because all of this. And I'm sure you're also losing millions because the service has not been up and running. Speak to us about other railway lines that are going to be working in Soweto that you're currently working on, and how important it is for you as PRASA to get Soweto up and running.
Heidi, we are doing a lot of recovery work, and we've taken the corridor approach, where for this financial year we identified 10 key corridors to recover because of the high volumes. Pretoria, we've covered, we've introduced the train services there, but now we want to move to Johannesburg, and we're starting with Soweto because we identified it as one of the high priority corridors with high number of volumes. And Soweto is synonymous with trains, and so it's very important that this part of community has an affordable means of transport to get to the economic hub of Gauteng, which is Johannesburg. We want to transport people to their workplaces because Soweto essentially is the hub of the working class who depend on affordable means of transport, and it's important that we introduce and recover this line, because a lot of people have been desperate saying that they want trains back because they no longer can afford taxi fares. You can imagine someone having to choose between buying bread or buying a taxi fare, getting taxi fare. So we want to make it as affordable as possible. We want to get people to their workplaces, opportunities of work, and to schools and etc. So it's very important that we recover the Soweto line.
Okay. Just lastly, I know we know what the challenges are. We know what some of the problems are. There's a lot of vandalism and theft, and I always say that it's quite disheartening to see that at a train station there are so many security. But this is important because the theft and vandalism continues. How are you making sure that this doesn't happen in future and we do not see a repeat of this? Because I know millions have been spent to repair all of this and also to make sure that you have enough security on board.
Theft and vandalism is a costly exercise. It has cost people their livelihoods. It has cost people the means of transport. But also the billions of rands that we've lost because of the theft and vandalism of the rail infrastructure. I think if you look at the Naledi line alone, replacing the electrical equipment has cost us around 300 million rands. So it's a very costly exercise, which is why we need to guard against the repeat of theft and vandalism. And so we have revised the security plan. We're intensifying our security. First of all, we want to make sure that we have more boots on the ground to protect the rail infrastructure. But we also want to bring in technology as part of our integrated security plan, in that we introduce drones and CCTV and other high-tech equipment to intensify the security. What we're also doing is walling. Where we are keeping our trains, we have a depot fencing program which will be using high-tech walls to protect the new electrical motor units. So that work is currently underway. We're walling here in Johannesburg, the Braamfontein Yard. We are walling also the Wilmerton Yard, KZN, Springfield, and Western Cape. So that is a plan we put in place to make sure that we protect the new trains. But also what we're doing is we're also walling some of the corridors, starting with Mabopane and the Central Line, so that because our system is an open network, so we found that we need to close it off to prevent ease of access onto the rail infrastructure. So that's the integrated security plan that we put in place.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We do appreciate it, and we wish you all the best. I must say it sounded very nice to hear the train back, and hopefully by the end of November, should everything go according to plan, that will be up and running again. Of course, many challenges, many issues, many concerns, but we just hope, Mfundo, that this vandalism and theft does not happen again, because at the end of the day, it costs you and I, the taxpayer, when so much needs to be put back in to repair these rail lines.